Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. Welcome to our 10th Dhamma discussion of this second series, season 2. In fact, this is the last Dhamma discussion we are having on season 2. And today I hope to explain and complete the path to Sotapanna. Now, before I start the Dhamma discussion, always I make few points. In this series of Dhamma discussions, we are discussing the path to Sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment. For explaining the path to Sotapanna, I am mainly using two sutras, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood, and also Sotapanna Sutra. In addition to that, I'm also quoting certain Dhamma points from Dvedhavitakka Sutra, Vitakkasanthana Sutra, Cuta Sutra, and the Ratana Sutra, and few other sutras as well. So all these sutras I have taken from the oldest Tipitaka in the world, which is kept at the British Library in London, which happens to be about 18 miles from our vihara. So this Tipitaka has been written down 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away. So it makes it over 2,100 years old. And that has been written down in Sri Lanka, in Kegol district, in a village called Matula, and in a very famous Buddhist temple called Alulena Rajamahavihara. So the information that I'm, the Dhamma points that I'm quoting from this Tipitaka, in some cases might slightly differ from what you have learned already. And if that is the case, don't develop anger or resentment against it, or don't develop arguments. Best is to practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to everything carefully. Take these facts home, analyze them using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's right, you can take it, make use of it, practice it, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you find it wrong, you just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I kindly request you to practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. Now, as we always do, let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning today, in this series of Dhamma discussions, we are discussing the path to Sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment, as Lord Buddha explained in Dhammachakkappavattana Sutra, as well as several other sutras. So firstly, I will quickly recap what we discussed so far, the summary of the Dhammachakkappavattana Sutra. Then I will continue from where we left over last week. In fact, week before last, because last week I couldn't do it. In Dhammachakkappavattana Sutra, firstly, Lord Buddha says, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu. I'm explaining you a Dhamma you haven't heard before. Then he says, Chakkung udapadi, Jnana udapadi, Panya udapadi, Vijja udapadi, Aloko udapadi. Chakkung udapadi means I got the vision of Dhamma. Jnana udapadi means I got the knowledge of Dhamma. Panya udapadi means I got the wisdom of Dhamma. Vijja udapadi means I got the science of Dhamma. Alokodapad means I got the light of Dhamma. I became aloka from loka. By loka he meant the darkness, the 31 place. By aloka he meant the light, the nirvana. Then he says, in order to understand this Dhamma, you have to come out of Kamasukallikan Yoga, Attakilmatan Yoga, and you have to come to Majjhima Patipada. Kamasukallikan Yoga is living a life of luxury, what Prince Siddhartha did for 29 years. Attakilmatan Yoga is giving unnecessary suffering to the body and the mind with the view of maximizing the wisdom and understanding how this universe works. That's what Bodhisattva Siddhartha Gautama did for 6 years while he was doing his research program, which he called Arya Parveshana. Then by Majjhima Patipada, he said, Majjhima Patipada is, Majjhima is getting drunk of Raga Dvesha Moha. Ma means completely eradicating. His Patipada is the way, the process, the path. So Majjhima Patipada is the way or the path or the process that helps you to eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha. At the end of the day, Buddha Dhamma is all about eradicating Raga Dvesha Moha completely and maximizing Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka. That's why even just before Lord Buddha passed away to Parinibbana, his last 3 words were Appamadena Sang Pahadeta. Appamadena means without any delay. Sang means Raga Dvesha Moha or Kelis. Other words he used were Kala, Kali, Kalo. Many words he used to explain Raga Dvesha Moha. And then Appamadena Sampahadeta. Pahadeta means paha means remove, eradicate, get rid of. So even the last 3 words he said, eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha. So that's the most important thing in Buddha Dhamma, eradicating Raga Dvesha Moha. Then he says, in order to come to Majjhima Patipada, Majjhima Patipada is the Noble Eightfold Path. Samma Ditti, Sama Sankappa, Sama Vacha, Sama Kamanta, Sama Ajiva, Sama Vayama, Sama Sati, Sama Samadhi. Now you can see here, Samma Ditti, Sang means Raga Dvesha Moha, Ma means completely eradicating, Ditti means the vision. So it's the vision that allows you to eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha. That's what Samma Ditti means. So a person who has attained Samadhi, he said that person has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti, Vicikicca, Silabhata, Paramasa, the 3 bonds that binds that person to this samsara, this process of birth and rebirth. He also said that person has attained 4 out of the 73 special wisdoms that the Samma Sambuddha has, which he called Buddha Jnana. Jnana is wisdoms. And those 4 special knowledges or Buddha Jnanas are Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Jnanam. He said Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Jnanam, Ayang Uchyati Bhikkhave Sammaditi. That means these 4 Buddha Jnanas, a person who has attained these 4 Buddha Jnanas has attained Sammaditi. And the person who has attained Sammaditi has arrived at the Nibbana Marga. He has completed the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. So in English is called a stream enterer. In Lord Buddha's language, he called him Sotapanna. Sota means Nibbana Marga, Apanna means arrived. So he has arrived at the Nibbana Marga or entered the Nibbana Marga. So that person is a Sotapanna. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to, now here you can see the importance of the word sang. In the Noble Eightfold Path, in all 8 folds, you get the word sang. That's Raga Dvesha Moha. And the last three words Lord Buddha delivered or spoke before the last advice he gave before he passed away to Parinibbana was Appamadena Sangpahadeta. In the word sang is there. In the Noble Eightfold Path, you find them in each fold 8 times. Sammaditi, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, and so on. Then the word Sankara, there again you get the word sang. Then Pati Icha Samuppada. We say Paticha Samuppada. That is made up of 4 words. Pati Icha Samuppada. Again, you get the word sang there. Then the second noble truth, Dukkhang Arya Satchang, the first one, Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satchang. Samudaya means sang uda. Sang uda means arriving, being born, or originating. Sanguda, Samudaya means Sanguda. Again, you get the word sang. So you can see how important this word sang is and how important it is to understand the correct meaning of sang. And as long as a person, if a person cannot understand the correct meaning of sang, then that person will not be able to attain samadhi, as simple as that. So it's very, very important to understand the meaning of the word sang. Another important sang word is sanchetana. Sanchetana. Chetana means in Magadhi language, chitta tananoa. Chitta means the mind, constructing of the mind before a thought. That's called sanchetana. Sorry. So this sang word appears everywhere. As a matter of fact, that appears more than 1,000 times in the Tipitaka. If you go through the Tipitaka, you will see this sang word appears more than 1,000 times. So if the word sang is added to another word or several words, and that those 2 words or more than 2 words together gives the meaning of an action that involves raga, dvesha, moha. So that's the way you have to understand the word sang. Sang means involving raga, dvesha, moha. So this says, in order to come to samadhi, one has to understand and comprehend the 4 noble truths. The 4 noble truths are Dukkhang Arya Satchang, Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodho Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodhagamini, Patipada Arya Satchang. In English, we say the noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the cause of suffering, noble truth of out of suffering, and the noble truth of the way out of suffering. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to understand and comprehend the 4 noble truths, there are 4 things one has to do. The 4 things are Kalyana Mitra Sevana, Sirisaddharma Shravana, Yoniso Manasikara, Dhammanudhamma Patipada. Kalyana Mitra Sevana means Kalyana. Kal means careless, raga, dvesha, moha. Yana means again eradicating or cutting off. So Kalyana Mitra Sevana means associating the person who is capable of explaining Dhamma to you, which will help you to eradicate or cut off your raga, dvesha, moha. Kalyana Mitra Sevana. Sirisaddharma Shravana means listening to the correct Dhamma explained by that person. Then Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara is you go through over and over again, using your intelligence and wisdom, analyzing and try and comprehend Dhamma. And Dhammanudhamma Patipada is Sammapapasa Karanang Kusala Supasampada. That means eradicating all unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome deeds, and unwholesome qualities, developing wholesome thoughts, wholesome deeds, and wholesome qualities. So that's what one has to do in order to become Sotapanna and go beyond that. So that's a summary that Lord Buddha has given of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Then he explains it in detail. Now, throughout these discussions, we have discussed in detail the first noble truth of suffering, then the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, third noble truth, out of suffering. And today we are going to discuss the fourth one, the way out of suffering. So the way out of suffering, Lord Buddha explained as the Noble Eightfold Path. So person who's going to become Sotapanna must understand how to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. He doesn't have to practice and complete it. At Sotapanna stage, he will know how to practice it. And then he will start practicing it seriously using the meditation techniques that Lord Buddha has explained in the Satipatthana Sutra. And by the time he completes the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, he has attained the fourth and the final level of enlightenment known as Arahat, Arahathood, or Arahat. So, talking of the Noble Eightfold Path, we all know the Noble Eightfold Path is Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. Now, first let's see what these are, and then we will look at how we practice them practically. How do we follow them? Now, firstly, Sammaditi. Sang means raga, dvesha, moha. Ma means completely eradicating. Ditta is the vision. So, Sammaditi is the vision of eradicating raga, dvesha, moha. As I said earlier, Lord Buddha said, Dukkha jnana, dukkha samudaya jnana, dukkha nirodha jnana, dukkha nirodha gamini, patipada jnana, ayang uchyati bhikkave sammaditi. So a person who has got these four special wisdoms, the wisdoms are dukkha jnana means that's complete knowledge of suffering, complete knowledge of the reason for suffering, complete knowledge of out of suffering, and the complete knowledge of the way out of suffering. A person who has got these four knowledges has attained Sammaditi. Then he says in Ratana Sutra, that person has eradicated, he says that in the Dhammachakkappavattana Sutra, but he confirms that in several sutras, including Ratana Sutra. I quote Ratana Sutra always because all Buddhist people are familiar and conversant with Ratana Sutra. So in Ratana Sutra, there's one verse or one poem, if you like, which says, Sahavasya dasana sampadaya tayasu dhamma jahida bhavanti sakkaya ditti vichikichi kancha srilambatang vapi achachikinchi chatu apaye hichavipamutto. So the person who has attained Sammaditi and Sotapanna, that person has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silambata Paramasa. Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikichi Kancha, Silambatang, Vapi Yachachikinchi, Chatu Apaye, Hichavipamutto. Chatu Apa means the four hells. Hichavipamutto means that person will never go to the four hells for the rest of his samsara. So that is what Lord Buddha said. The top priority should be given in our life as a human being to protect ourselves from going to the four hells in the future. Because Lord Buddha said, when we travel, when we spend time on these 31 planes, 90% of our time will be spent in the four hells. We can't remember how much time we have spent there, but one day we will be able to retrieve all that information, and then we will realize how much suffering we have undergone in these four hells for thousands and, I don't know, millions, maybe billions and billions of years, maybe trillions of years. So that is what is important. Once in a very, very long time, we get a human life. Lord Buddha said, Manusatta patilabo paramadullabo. The most difficult birth that is to get, Lord Buddha said, is the human life. Because it's on the human world, only one can become Sotapanna. One cannot become Sotapanna in a Divya Loka or Brahma Loka or Nibbana, one can become so neither in the four hells, Manusha Loka, the human world where we are now, that is the only place where one can become Sotapanna. That's why Lord Buddha said this life is so important. It's the first hurdle that we have to clear. Once we have cleared the first hurdle, we are in the path, we are on the correct path, and we have nothing to worry about because our main worry is over. Lord Buddha said, as a living being traveling through this 31 planes, more than 99% of the suffering a sentient being or living being has to undergo is in the four hells. So if we get a guarantee, if we become Sotapanna, Lord Buddha gives a guarantee that we will never ever go to the four hells again. And that's the greatest relief a human being can have in his life. And it makes you so happy and so contented and so fulfilled because you know that you are protected from that worst suffering. So that is what we should give top priority to. I'm not saying that you throw everything else and go to the jungle and start meditating, certainly not. While doing other things, you give priority to practicing Dhamma, learning Dhamma, practicing Dhamma, and become Sotapanna. Once you have become Sotapanna, you will have no worries. You see, 99% of your worries will be over. And you will never be scared or frightened of anything. There's nothing to be frightened of. You are not frightened of death because you know that if you die, you will go to a better place. Death is imminent. It's going to come to everyone. And there's no point in repenting about it. And that's the nature of the world. And all we can do is make sure that we will not go to a worse place, meaning the four hells. So this is the way to do it, Lord Buddha said. So Samadhi, that person has eradicated Sakkaya Ditthi Vicikiccha Silabhata Paramasa, and he will never go to the four hells again. So what is Sakkaya Ditthi, what is Vicikiccha, what is Silabhata Paramasa? If a person gets rid of Sakkaya Ditthi, then the Vicikiccha and Silabhata Paramasa will all automatically be eradicated. This is what it happens. Firstly, we have to understand what is Sakkaya Ditthi. Sakkaya Ditthi means the person who does not know Dhamma. Lord Buddha called him Pruthakjana. So the Pruthakjana person thinks that life is there to enjoy aswada. He doesn't even know the meaning of the word aswada. He thinks life is there for enjoyment. For enjoyment, what he does is he's doing sankara and enjoying aswada. Basically, what he's doing is taking Rupa Vedana Sanya into his mind. With that, he's doing a sankara, means constructing a thought with Raga Desha Moha. And he enjoys that in his mind. His mind feels happy. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know that he has taken Rupa Vedana Sanya and committed the sankara in order to enjoy this pleasure, what Lord Buddha called aswada, which is a mentally fabricated pleasure and not a real pleasure. So once he does that, he doesn't know that the damage he is doing to himself, the massive damage, because the moment he does a sankara and he, from one side, he's earning sins, from the other side, he's strengthening his unwholesome qualities, and thirdly, he's strengthening his vijnana. Three disasters. He doesn't know that, and he does that 25,000 to 30,000 times a day. And that's why the Pruthakjana person will definitely go to the four hells because he's doing that 30,000 times a day. And by the time, if he does that for 10 years, and by the time he dies, he has a mountain of sins and mountain of unwholesome qualities or akusal that he has accumulated, which he cannot get rid of. And he will have to go to the four hells to pay for those sins. And once he gets there, in the four hells, people who are born there, they don't have a developed mind. The best place in the four hells is the animal kingdom, which we can see. We can see how animals behave. They don't have a developed mind like human beings. They cannot understand the difference between between merits and sins, unwholesome qualities and wholesome qualities. They don't know anything about karma. All day what they are doing is committing sankara in order to enjoy aswada and keep accumulating 25,000 to 30,000, maybe more, sins and unwholesome qualities. So they'll be dying and being reborn in the four hells for billions and billions of lives before they get another chance to come to the human world. So one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to get there. We are all going to die one day. Death is something that people don't like to talk about, but we should. You see, as human beings, as we are born, we are imminent to die. We have to die. We cannot live forever. So we plan for everything in life, which is very good. And some of them might happen, some of them might not happen. They are uncertain events, but doesn't matter. Still, we should plan for them. But there's one certain event that's going to happen to everyone, and that is called death. And people don't like to talk about it, people don't like to think about it, and people don't like to plan for it. And according to Buddha Dhamma, people should talk about it, understand it, think about it, and they must plan for it. And this is the plan. The plan is that people should learn Dhamma, practice Dhamma, and become Sotapanna. Then you are ready. You have nothing to worry about. It's like going from one place to another, one place to a better place. You will not be frightened of that. Believe me, once you have comprehended Dhamma, attained Samadhi, and become Sotapanna, you will never be frightened of death. That is one of the greatest feelings one could have. You see, the worst feeling that people have is the death. That's why they don't even like to talk about it. You see, this thing called death, it takes everything away from you. Let's say if a person lives 75 years, during the 75 years, he is accumulating a lot of knowledge, a lot of people, a lot of wealth to a greater extent or a small extent. All three they will accumulate, and all those things that they accumulate over the lifetime, let's say over 75 years or 100 years, that person will lose it in 1 second when the death comes to him. So all that will be gone. I'm not saying one doesn't have to collect them. One needs them to a certain extent to live comfortably. Without living comfortably, you can't practice the path. But you have to do that. But you have to give top priority to the only thing that you can take with you. None of those things, the properties, the wealth, the people, the knowledge that you accumulate, you cannot take with you. You will lose them in 1 second. Whether you like it or not, you cannot hang on to them. You cannot take them with you. You cannot have them forever. The only thing that you can take with you is if you learn the correct Dhamma and practice correct Dhamma and become Sotapanna, which all of you can do. You all are in the path now, and some of you are very close to it. All of you can do it, I'm sure. And if you practice it correctly now, all of you understand Dhamma now. And it's a question of practicing it, putting your time to it and practicing it and completing the path and becoming Sotapanna. So that is the most important thing and the greatest feeling that you can have. I hope you will realize that. So Samadhi, we are talking of the Noble Eightfold Path. So Samadhi is the vision that helps you to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha. And then what we have to understand is Sama Sankappa. Sankappa is the thoughts. Sangma. Sang means Raga, Desha, Moha. Ma means eradicating. So the thoughts, we have to practice thoughts that help us to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha. That is what Sama Sankappa is. So person, how do we do it in practice? So person who has become Samadhi, what he will do is in practice that after becoming Samadhi, after becoming Sotapanna, what he will do, he must do what he, you see, to become Sotapanna, you must know the complete path, the Noble Eightfold Path, That means you must know how to practice this path up to Arahathood. You must have a rough idea. You say that's what we call understanding the Four Noble Truths. And the first level, once you understand it at the first level, you have a good idea of how to do it. Then you become Sotapanna. When you understand it more, at the second level, you become Sakuddagami, third level Anagami. And once you have fully comprehended it and completed it, you become Arahat, the final stage, final level of enlightenment. So at Sotapanna level, you have a good idea of how to do it. So Sama Sankappa is the thoughts that come to our mind. So Sama Sankappa means developing thoughts or eradicating. Sang means Raga Desha Moha, Ma means eradicating. Sankappa is thoughts. So how to eradicate Raga Desha Moha from our thoughts? That's Sama Sankappa. Now, in order to concentrate on these things, in order to do these things, let's say Samma Sankappa, to practice Samma Sankappa, what we need is the effort and the concentration. So that is Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kamma, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama. Samma Vayama is the effort, and Samma Sati is the concentration. So at each level, you have to have the Samma Vayama and Samma Sati. In other words, Samma effort and Samma concentration. So to develop Samma Sankappa, in other words, Samma thoughts, you have to use your Samma effort and Samma concentration. Then you move on to, while doing that, actually this Noble Eightfold Path, even though it's explained separately, most of them you practice at the same time until you come to Sama Samadhi. Sama Samadhi is the only thing you while you are developing Sama Sankappa, you develop Sama Vacha also. You look at the words that you use, using your Sama concentration and Sama efforts, you gradually eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha words that you use in your speech, Samma Vacha. Samma Kammanta. Samma Kammanta is action, the action that you take. You look at them using your effort and concentration and eradicate, gradually try and eradicate any Raga Dvesha Moha that you can find in your action. Samma Kammanta. Sama Ajiva. Ajiva is the entire way of living. From the moment you wake up in the morning until you go to bed in the night, you look at the things that you do and gradually find and eradicate anything that involves Raga Dvesha Moha. So that's Samma Ajiva. The Samma Vayama and Samma Sati we are already practicing. Samma Samadhi. Now, Samma Samadhi is the most important one in this. And Samma Samadhi is actually the serious meditation that Lord Buddha has explained in the Mahasattva Sutra, the various techniques that Lord Buddha has explained. Now, all those techniques, what they do is eradicate Raga Desha Moha completely from our mind and develop Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka. Now, in Dvedhavitakka Sutra, Lord Buddha has explained the Buddhist meditation, how he discovered Buddhist meditation, the Buddhist Anapana, Sati Samadhi meditation technique. Now, it's important to understand the relationship between the Dhamma points in Dvedhavitakka Sutra and the Mahasattva Sutra. Let me try and explain this to you. In Dvedhavitakka Sutra, what Lord Buddha is explaining is how he discovered Buddha Anapana Sati Samadhi meditation technique, how he practiced it, through the practice of it, how he developed jhana, how he left jhana and went forward, and then got MARGA pala, that's Sotapanna, Sakuddagami, Anagami, Arahata, and how he attained Buddhahood. by maximizing his wisdom. So here he's explaining how he discovered. He's talking about the Anapana meditation technique. So Anapana doesn't mean breathe in, breathe out. Ana means taking in wholesome thoughts. Pana means putting out unwholesome thoughts, eradicating unwholesome thoughts. Now, here he explains the Anapana meditation technique in Dvedhavitakka Sutra, and he's giving further explanation on the next sutra, Vitakkasanthana Sutra, where he has explained 6 techniques which you can use to successfully practice Anapana meditation technique. Those 2 sutras we are going to cover today briefly. Then what is the relationship of what he has explained here in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra to the meditation techniques that he has explained in Satipatthana Sutra? Now you can see the relationship. The relationship is now, you have to try and understand. Here in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra, he has explained the Anapana, Buddhist Anapana meditation technique. Then in Satipatthana Sutra, he has given mainly 4 meditation techniques that fulfills the requirement of Anapana. In other words, there are 4 different ways of practicing Anapana meditation technique. He has explained in the Satipatthana Sutra. The four techniques he has given are namely the Mettanusati, Asubhanusati, Marananusati, and Buddhanusati. Mettanusati is Metta Bhavana. Marananusati is meditating on Anicca Dukkha Anatta, nature of the world. Then Mettanusati, Marananusati, Asubhanusati. Asubhanusati means looking at the human body in different ways and understanding the reality of it. Then Asubhanusati, he has given 11 different ways of practicing it. Firstly, you divide the human body into 2 pieces, look at them and see that they are basically they are flesh, blood, bones, and veins. You look at it that way, then you look at it as a collection of the 6 elements that Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi, Akasa, Vijnana. Then you look at, take a human body and see a dead body and see how it goes into decay at 9 different stages. So that's Asubha Bhavana, Asubhanusati. When you do that, you realize the reality of the human body, the negative side of the human body. In fact, it's the reality. We only see the human body as the positive side. Of course, there's a positive side. We need this body. This body is a vehicle that helps us to climb this mountain all the way up to Nibbana. Without this body, we can't do it in the human world and also in the Devaloka. Once we go to the Brahma Loka, only we get rid of the body, and only the mind will be left there. But until then, we need this body. It is necessary. That's the positive side of it. It helps us to climb this mountain. But at the same time, there's a negative side to it. And so we have to look at the negative side also and understand exactly what it is they are for. Not to hold on to it raga, desha, moha, but to use it for the correct purpose with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Anyway, those things are all beyond Sotapanna level. I'm just explaining to you because people were asking questions about Satipatthana Sutra, and now you will have the opportunity to read it. But I would advise to you, just reading for interest is okay, but don't spend too much time on it and try and comprehend everything until you become Sotapanna. That's otherwise you see it's like you are trying to study for masters before you finish your bachelor's. So first become Sotapanna, and then you can concentrate on the Satipatthana Sutra in detail. So here we are talking of the Sama Samadhi. To explain Sama Samadhi, The best way is going through the Dvedhavitakka Sutra. How Lord Buddha discovered this Anapanasati Samadhi meditation technique, which he called the Sama Samadhi. Sama Samadhi is a samadhi that you sit down and practice. That's what he did, or sit down. Or basically, you stop everything else when you practice Sama Samadhi. Whereas the other 7 stages, you can practice while you are doing other things. For example, while working or while doing your day-to-day things at the house, you can practice Sama Sankappa, Sama Vacha, Sama Kammanta, Sama Ajiva. To practice those, you use Sama Vayam and Sama Sati. But Sama Samadhi, you cannot practice while doing other things. That is something that you have to concentrate totally. And there are 4 positions that Lord Buddha has explained in Mahasatipatthana Sutra, which you can use for practicing the Sama Samadhi. The 4 positions are sitting down, standing up, walking, and lying down. Those are the 4 positions. But don't worry about those things at this stage. At this stage, all you need to know is how to practice, because you don't have to practice it seriously, which you will start after becoming Sotapanna. But at Sotapanna level, you must know how to do it. How to practice Sama Sankappa, Sama Vacha, Sama Kammanta, Sama Ajiva. To practice those, how you use Sama Vayam and Sama Sati, and then how you practice Sama Samadhi. So now we are going to look at briefly how we practice Sama Samadhi. Let me read out the important bits from Dvedhavitakka Sutra and Vitakkasanthana Sutra. We did this once before in season 1. We are going to do it again. Then it will refresh people's memory. Well, some people will, remember it or catch it the first time. Some people may take twice, 3, 4 times. It depends on the individual. It doesn't matter how many times you take, as long as you take it at the end of the day, practice it, and get results out of it. Okay, this Dvedhavitakka Sutra. I'm going to read it to you from this Tipitaka. You can see this is the English Tipitaka translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi and Bhikkhu Jnana Bodhi. You all know Bhikkhu Bodhi, who's an eminent monk in USA. He was ordained in Sri Lanka at the age of 26, I think. He lived there for 24 years, and now he's back in the States. Some of you have met him. And his translations are very, very good. He has summarized them very nicely. So in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutra number 19, it's called Dvedhavitakka Sutra in Lord Buddha's language. English translation is 2 kinds of thoughts. Now let me read this. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus, thus bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied, the Blessed One said this. Because before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divided my thoughts into 2 classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. So Lord Buddha is explaining basically just before he attained Buddhahood, while he was still an unenlightened bodhisattva, this thought came to his mind. He should divide his thoughts into 2 categories. He should put wholesome thoughts in one category and unwholesome thoughts in another category. Then he says, as I abided thus, diligent ardent, and resolute. A thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood thus this thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. When the thought of sensual desire arose in me, whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, I removed it, I did away with it. So put it into very simple English, what he's saying is, firstly, he decided that he will put his thoughts into two categories. He will identify them in two categories, wholesome thoughts and unwholesome thoughts. Then he sat under the Bodhi tree and he was watching his mind, and unwholesome thought came to his mind. So he had, instead of taking this thought inside and cultivating it or pondering on it, he looked at the thought and he analyzed the thought and see whether it, then he saw, when he analyzed the thought, he saw that's obstructing, that thought is going to, if he develops that thought, that's going to obstruct his path to Nibbana, and obstruct the path to Nibbana of the others, and that thought is not good, therefore he should eradicate that. So when he looked at the negative side of that thought, he was able to eradicate it completely. The words he's using is, he says, whenever thought of sensual desire rose on me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. So basically he removed it completely. That's what he means. And then goes on to say, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of ill will arose in me. A thought of cruelty arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of cruelty has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered thus, it subsided in me. Whenever thought of cruelty arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, and did away with it. Again, he's saying, after getting rid of the first thought, he was again watching his mind. Another thought came into his mind, and then he started analyzing it. Again, he realized that's an unwholesome thought, and if he develops it, if he cultivates it, if he ponders on it, and it's going to be obstructive to his path to Nibbana and obstructive to the path to the Nibbana of the others. So he decided to get rid of it. The words that he is using, I abandoned it, removed it, and did away with it. Basically, he got rid of them, that thought also completely. Then he's explaining another point. He says, bhikkhus, whatever bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thoughts of renunciation to cultivate the thought of sensual desire, and then his mind inclines to the thought of sensual desire. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of ill will, upon thoughts of cruelty, he has abandoned the thought of non-cruelty to cultivate the thought of cruelty. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of cruelty. So he's talking of raga desha here. He says, if a person is always thinking of thoughts involving raga, his mind will be inclined to develop, cultivate, and ponders upon thoughts involved in raga. And then he will not be able to practice the opposite, the good side, which is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Similarly, here he's saying, uh, if a person is always practicing dvesha thoughts, then his mind will be inclined to practice dvesha thoughts all the time. When similar rupa vedana sanya comes to his mind, the mind will be inclined to convert that into a dvesha thought and ponders upon it. And so that way, he will not be able to practice Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, because the mind is used to practicing dvesha in this case. In previous case, raga, here is dvesha. Then he says, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. Now he is explaining another point. He says, while he was watching his thoughts, a wholesome thought came to his mind. And he analyzed that thought and he realized that by practicing that thought, cultivating it, pondering upon it, is going to be beneficial to his path to Nibbana, is going to help his path to Nibbana and help the path to the Nibbana of the others. So he decided to take that thought in and he started thinking about it, cultivating, pondering upon it for day and night. And he could do it for a very, very long time. Then he says, but with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes disturbed. And when the mind is disturbed, it is far from concentration. So I steadied my mind internally, quietened it, brought it to singleness, and concentrated it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be disturbed. So to put it into very simple English, what he's saying is, when he was practicing, cultivating and pondering upon this good thought, wholesome thought, after doing it for several days and nights, his mind got tired, the body got tired. And then he became very determined and he tried and concentrated and brought to his mind to a singleness and continued what he was doing. Then he says, as I abided thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of non-ill will arose in me. A thought of non-cruelty arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of non-cruelty has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a day and night, I see nothing to fear from it. So he's saying the same thing about a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thought. A wholesome thought came into his mind. He analyzed it and he realized that that thought is going to be helpful to his path to Nibbana and the path to Nibbana of the others. So he has taken in that thought into his mind and he was thinking about it, cultivating it, pondering it for day and night, and he had nothing to fear from it, he says. So basically what he's explaining here is how he developed the technique of understanding the thought process, which thoughts are wholesome, which thoughts are unwholesome, and how he got rid of the unwholesome thoughts and how he practiced the wholesome thoughts. Very simple technique. I know it's easily said than done because the average person, the Pruthakjana person who had not become Sotapanna before, that person is used to practicing unwholesome thoughts most of the time. So it's not easy to train the mind to come out of it and to practice more and more wholesome thoughts. But with the effort and little practice, it can be done. It's not so difficult. Once you start doing it, you will see it's not as hard as you think it is. So that's what he explains in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra. Then in Vitakkasanthana Sutra, the next sutra, sutra number 20 there. Vitakkasanthana Sutra, the English translation of that is the removal of distracting thoughts. So when the distracting thoughts come to your mind, how to remove them. Lord Buddha has explained 6 techniques here. Now let's read this sutra. This also Bhikkhu Bodhi has summarized beautifully. That's how I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied, the Blessed One said this. Bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is pursuing the higher mind, from time to time, he should give attention to 5 signs. What are the 5? The first one, he says, here bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign, and owing to that sign, there arises in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. When he should give attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, when he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. And with the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. So basically what he's saying is when a person is meditating, suddenly unwholesome thoughts could come to his mind. So one way of getting rid of that unwholesome thoughts is not allowing that unwholesome thoughts to creep in. You try and develop a wholesome thought on top of it, so that unwholesome thought will not be able to come in. You replace the unwholesome thought with a wholesome thought. That's the first technique he is giving. Then the second one he says, if while he is giving attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, there is still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion, then he should examine the danger in those thoughts. Thus, these thoughts are unwholesome, they are reprehensible, they result in suffering. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned. Abandon him and subside. With the abandoning of them in his mind, becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. So the second technique, what he's saying is, if you put it into simple English, what it means is, while a person is meditating, it's quite possible that unwholesome thoughts will come into his mind, creep into his mind. So what the second technique is, you look at the unwholesome. Now, earlier you replaced the unwholesome thoughts with a wholesome thought on top of it. Here, what you are doing is you look at the unwholesome thoughts and see the downside of it, what the damage that is going to do, the damage is going to do to the others. And once you analyze it and look at it in detail, then it will gradually subside and you will be able to get rid of it from your mind. Then the third technique he's saying, if while he's examining the danger in those thoughts, there still arises in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion, then he should try to forget those thoughts and should not give any attention to them. When he tries to forget those thoughts and does not give any attention to them, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. The third technique he's saying, when a person is trying to meditate, trying to maintain wholesome thoughts in his mind, it is still possible that unwholesome thoughts could try and creep into his mind. Then he says the third technique is you just forget about the unwholesome thought. You will not allow it to come into your mind. You forget that and continue with the wholesome thought. You will try your best, use your Samma Vayam and Samma Sati to the maximum and not allow that unwholesome thoughts to creep into your mind on top of the wholesome thought that you are cultivating in the moment. And you keep cultivating the wholesome thought that you are cultivating and not allowing that unwholesome thought to come into your mind. And the fourth technique he's saying, if while he's trying to forget those thoughts, and while he's trying to forget those thoughts and is not giving attention to them, there still arises in him evil, unwholesome thoughts concentrated with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should give attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts. When he gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned him and subside. With the abandoning of them in his mind, become steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Now, the fourth technique, what he's saying is, if still these unwholesome thoughts keep coming into his mind, he will stop thinking about them, still those thoughts, and not think about them, and just carry on with what he was thinking. You see, there are very subtle differences between these techniques. Now, some of the techniques, when you look at it first or when you hear it for the first time or the second time, you may not see the difference, but there are subtle differences between them. So there are different techniques of trying to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha thoughts coming into your mind. That's the fourth one. Then the fifth one, he says, if while he's giving attention to stilling the thoughts, formation of those thoughts, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then with his teeth clenched to his tongue, pressed against the root of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush mind with mind. When with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subsided. When the abandoning of them in his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Now, these are little advanced meditation techniques. You shouldn't worry at this stage. You should briefly know what they are, but don't worry about try and understand it fully. The technique that he's explaining is a very advanced technique. What he's saying is, after doing all that, if still these unwholesome thoughts are coming into his mind, he says, clench your teeth and press your tongue against the upper part of the mouth and try and crush mind with mind and not allow those unwholesome thoughts to come in. But don't worry about these things at this stage. You just have to know what they are, and you will practice them once you have become Sotapanna. So just knowing them is enough at this stage. Then the last one, he says, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign and owing to that sign, there arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then when he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, any such unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him and subside. And with the abandoning of them in his mind, uh, mind becomes steadied, internally quiet, brought to singleness and concentrated. So here what he is saying is, after doing all that, still unwholesome thoughts keep coming into his mind, and he will concentrate totally on a different thought relating to a wholesome matter, a wholesome thought. And that way he'll be able to eradicate and get rid of that unwholesome thought that's trying to creep into his mind, and he will be able to quieten and steady his mind. So those are the six techniques. And don't worry about, learning them and comprehending them fully at this stage. You just have to know that those techniques are there. So those are the techniques. Firstly, in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra, you can read it up. It's on the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutra number 19. And there he's explaining how he discovered the Buddhist Anapana meditation technique, how he practiced it. Buddhist Anapana meditation technique is basically taking in wholesome thoughts and cultivating them in your mind and eradicating unwholesome thoughts. Wholesome thoughts are thoughts involving Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Unwholesome thoughts are thoughts involving Raga, Dvesha, Moha. As simple as that, you see. So there he explains in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra, Lord Buddha has explained how he discovered the Buddhist Anapana meditation technique, how he practiced it, through the practice of it, how he got his results, how he attained Buddhahood. And then going on to Satipatthana Sutra, there he's explaining 4 techniques which helps you to practice, develop, cultivate this Buddhist Anapana meditation technique. All 4, whether you practice Metta-nusati, Asubha-nusati, Marana-nusati, or Buddha-nusati, all they are doing is Anapana. 4 different ways of practicing Anapana, Buddha meditation. In other words, 4 different ways of taking in wholesome thoughts, eradicating unwholesome thoughts. That's the connection between the explanation given in the Dvedhavitakka Sutra and the Satipatthana Sutra. Don't worry about comprehending all these in detail at this stage. Just try and understand briefly what it means, and that's sufficient at Sotapanna stage. We have taken about 1.5 hours. I'm going to stop there and give you another 1.5 hours to ask any questions.
Vandami Bhante, this is Milind Thamke.
And Namo Buddhaya, Milind.
Namo Buddhaya. You mentioned Anapana means taking in wholesome thoughts, and Pana means taking out unwholesome thoughts.
Yes.
I think I understand what's mean by taking in wholesome thoughts, but I don't understand taking out unwholesome thoughts.
You see, the way taking out unwholesome thoughts is there are 2 things one has to do. Now, when we pray, we say, Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana patya. Then we say idamme punya kammang asavakya vahang hotu sabbadukkha pamuchatu. Right? These are the two things that we try to remove. Firstly, unwholesome thoughts that are creeping into our mind in the present moment. Right? So while we are thinking of a wholesome thought, let's say you are practicing loving kindness meditation, right? Suddenly, something to do with raga, dvesha, moha. Let's say someone who upset you at work yesterday. Suddenly that thought comes into your mind. Now, what happens if you start thinking about it? You'll be developing dvesha, right? So instead of allowing that thought to come in, you get rid of it immediately. So there you are stopping raga, desha, moha being created in the present moment, which is called anusaya. That's what we say when we pray. Imina punya kame namame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana patya. Imina punya kame means with the power of these merits that I have accumulated, may I be able to eradicate the raga, dvesha, moha thoughts coming into my mind in the present moment. Mahame bala samagamo, satan samagamo hotu. May I be able to develop wholesome thoughts. That's what we say that in that gatha. Do you understand that point?
Yes, Bhanteji, very well. I
Right.
was focusing on the
Yeah,
previous
that's one point. And the
accumulated thought.
second point is we say, idamme punya kammang asavakya vahang hotu. Asava means raga, dvesha, moha quality that we have accumulated throughout our samsara, and we are carrying it in that third box in the Chittasanthana, right? That is called asava. So idamme punya kammang asavakya vahang hotu. With the power of the merits that I have accumulated, may I be able to cut off, get rid of the asava that I have accumulated in my Chittasanthana. That's what that gatha means, right? So the technique that, the anapana that we do will allow us to eradicate the raga, desha, moha thought that, the thoughts that are coming into our mind. That's the first thing. Then we practice serious meditation techniques like, let's say, even metta-anusati. If we practice metta-anusati for a very long time and not allowing dvesha thoughts to come into our mind, the inclination of dvesha thoughts coming into our mind will gradually decline, because the power of the dvesha quality that we have in our Chittasanthana, if we don't polish it up, if we don't practice it, that will gradually get eroded. You see, they have to be practiced in order to keep them functional, keep them alive. So when we do it for a long time, the asava that we have in the Chittasanthana, when we practice loving kindness meditation for a long time, the dvesha quality. See, dvesha is the biggest problem most people have. It's easier to get rid of raga, but it's harder to get rid of dvesha. And it's even harder to get rid of moha. So raga is the easy one. Most people can do it with most things. Then dvesha, the way to get rid of dvesha, firstly, the anusaya, that's the dvesha thoughts that are coming into the mind in the present moment, you get rid of it immediately. And the second part is the dvesha quality that you have accumulated throughout your chitta throughout your samsara, and deposited in that third box. And you can eradicate it by practicing Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts for a long, long time, and not allowing any dvesha quality to come into your mind, so that the dvesha qualities that you have, if you like, they won't be charged again, they won't be recharged. So they will gradually lose their charge and gradually die off, kind of, they will gradually get eradicated. So that's what happens with the Raga, Dvesha, Moha. We have to eradicate in two fronts. The first one is called Anusaya, the Raga, Dvesha, Moha thought that are coming into our mind in the present moment and originating more and more Raga, Dvesha, Moha. And we eradicate it in that moment, immediately. We identify it, eradicate the thought. And the second one is the Raga Dvesha quality that we have accumulated throughout our samsara. We have to gradually find them when we practice serious meditation using the Satipatthana Sutra. That's what we call Vipassana. Vipassana means, we analyze our mind to see what Raga Dvesha, let's say if we think of Dvesha, what dvesha do we have? What sort of dvesha thoughts come into our mind? It will be mostly to do with people or things that are happening, either what we don't like or things we cannot have what we want, or we are getting what we don't like. So one by one, we take them and gradually get rid of them. That is called vipassana. So at two stages, you eradicate them. Firstly, the Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts coming into your mind in the present moment, you eradicate them. Then you look at the Raga, Dvesha, Moha quality that you have in the Vitakkasanthana in the third box and gradually eradicate them one by one using the four meditation techniques that Lord Buddha gave. And that's where you will start to do serious meditation, what you call vipassana. And the techniques that you use are Metta Anusati, Asubha Anusati, Marana Anusati, and Buddha Anusati. Does that make any sense?
Yes, perfect, Bhanteji. Thank you so much. A follow-up question. Does that
Yes.
mean Dvesh is more deep-rooted than Raga?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Dvesha is, you see, most people will find it harder to get rid of Dvesha than Raga.
Oh, thank you. Another question, Bhanteji.
Yes.
You mentioned that when we do the Sama Samadhi,
Yes.
we have to be not doing anything else. It's a dedicated exercise.
Yes.
There are also other techniques that we come across, like walking meditation and other parts. So that's not really what it means by dedicated. It has to be doing dedicatedly sitting at one place
No, no,
only.
no. There are four positions that Lord Buddha has explained for practicing Sama Samadhi. One
Okay.
is sitting down, next one is standing up, third one is walking, and fourth one is lying down. But you totally concentrate on your mind on practicing of wholesome thoughts and eradicating unwholesome thoughts. You can't be having your dinner, or you can't be doing your cooking or anything like that, you see.
Okay. Yeah. Understand.
Whereas
Yeah.
Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, those things you can practice while eating your food, or while driving the car, or while traveling in the train, or while, cooking your food. While doing something else, you can do it. But this Samma Samadhi, you cannot do it while doing something else. 100% concentration should be given to that. And the four positions, you can use one of the four positions. In fact, all four you can mix. That's what Lord Buddha did while, just before he attained Buddhahood, near the Sri Mahabodhi tree. He used all four techniques.
It's great. Thank you, Bhanteji. Thank you.
Bhanteji, I have a question.
Yes, what's your name, ma'am?
This is Kalyani.
Hello, Kalyani.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo
So,
Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim, with respect to the Dvesha,
Yes.
so, if we see somebody who is dirty or smelly, we automatically don't feel going and talking to that person.
Yes.
And I consider that as a dvesha.
Yes.
So unless that person changes, maybe get clean or wash his mouth or whatever, right?
Yes.
How do we make ourselves go and not create that dvesha? This automatically comes as human mind because we have nose, we have all these senses.
Yes.
When we look at somebody who is not clean or is smelly, we don't want to go and help them or talk to them. So how do we cultivate our mind to not feel that, or even it seems like it's outside of our control and control of the other person, where they need to change something for us to be able to
No, not at all. We
that.
cannot change other people. We can only change ourselves, our attitude, our mind, right? So our mind is, trained to dislike people who are unclean, who smell, and so on. But what we have to do is, here there are several techniques that you can use. Firstly, if you can avoid that person, you avoid that person, you go away, right?
Right.
Instead of
Okay.
developing anger on him, you develop, maitri, karuna, because you see that person is having a problem. We could be like that. If we don't know what he is going through, probably he has massive problems at home and big problems at work, and he forgot to brush his teeth and have a bath. Anyone who doesn't brush his teeth and have a bath will smell. That's the nature of the human body. So we have to look at it that way, and rather than getting angry with him, and have pity on him, and have karuna, compassion, and think, what to do. He's in a difficult situation. So if you can't really bear the smell, it's possible that the smell is very, very hard to bear. Maybe he hasn't had a bath for a week. Then you try and avoid that person, go away. But if you have to talk to him, you just have to put yourself in his position and think, what if this happens to me? I could be in this position. I'm only human just like him, you see? So you have to think that way and stop anger arising within you. Rather, you replace anger with compassion there. That's what you have to do. You cannot expect the other person to change.
Yeah.
We can
Thank you,
only
Bhante.
change ourselves, and we cannot change the others.
Yes. Another question. Could you
Yes.
please tell us about the 6 techniques in short? I understood a couple of them. I didn't capture all 6. I know there are subtle differences, right?
Don't
So
worry about them. Actually, those 6 you have to know when you are practicing, the 4 meditation techniques there in Satipatthana Sutra. I just, I
okay.
happen to mention them just for your information, but don't worry about them. They will allow you to do is eradicate unwholesome thoughts and develop and cultivate wholesome thoughts.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
They are very similar to each other, and there are very subtle differences, but don't worry about them too much at this stage. You just have to know that they are there, because you are not going to practice them in detail.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
As far as meditation is concerned at this level, before becoming Sotapanna, the 2 meditations that we do is, firstly, we do, asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wishing them well. Then practicing loving kindness meditation. That's more than enough at Sotapanna stage. Any other questions, anyone?
Vandami Bhante ji, Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Namo Buddhaya. What's your name, ma'am?
Bhante ji, this is Vinaya.
Hello, Vinay.
Hi. So Bhante ji, when you were explaining about the process of cultivating the samadhi,
Yes.
where you mentioned about cultivating wholesome thoughts and getting rid of unwholesome thoughts, and you explained how we do that. So in there, and when you were reading the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation about
Yes.
the 6 techniques,
Yes.
one thing that caught my attention was where Buddha says that these unwholesome thoughts were obstructing my path to Nibbana, my
Yes.
path as well as others' path to Nibbana.
Yes.
So, Bhantiji, that means tells us that he already saw that path, which you keep telling, right? At Sotapanna stage, you know where you saw the mountain peak or you saw the mountain, but you haven't reached there.
Yes. Yes.
So, that part was what I always thought was Buddha reached the destination and later he told us the path. But looks like when he was also attaining enlightenment, he knew where to go and he was just trying to find the path to go there.
You see here what he's saying is
Mhm.
he's delivering this sermon after becoming a Buddha, after attaining Buddhahood, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
he's explaining his experience, what he experienced just before he attained Buddhahood. The experience that he's explaining is how he discovered Anapana meditation technique, how he practiced it, through the practice of it, how he became, how he managed to eradicate Raga Desha Moha completely and develop Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka. In other words, how he managed to eradicate unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome qualities completely and develop wholesome qualities and wholesome thoughts to the highest possible level. And through that, he developed his wisdom to the highest level. And how he comprehended the universe, if you like, how he became Buddha, how he got that 73 wisdoms, which helps him to understand everything about the universe.
Mhm.
You see, the other part of your question is, I think, here, Lord Buddha is not separately explaining how he attained Sotapanna and went beyond. He's just explaining the entire process, right? So some of the things that he's explaining here, we don't have to do at Sotapanna level. For example, we don't have to practice Sama Samadhi. He's explaining here how he practiced Sama Samadhi. We don't have to practice it. We just have to know that there's this Sama Samadhi is there, and this is how Sama Samadhi is all about totally concentrating on the meditation and totally concentrating on how eradicating Ragadvesha Moha, thoughts and Ragadvesha Moha qualities from the Chitta Santana and developing wholesome thoughts and wholesome qualities to the maximum level. We don't have to know in detail as to how to do it at this stage. Just a brief knowledge is the first level of understanding. As long as we understand that that's there, and these are the techniques that he used. Basically, if you understand that at Samma Samadhi level, there are 4 positions in which you can practice Samma Samadhi. That's sitting down, standing up, walking, and lying down. 4 positions. And while you are doing that, you cannot do anything else. You have to concentrate 100% on it. You cannot do it while you're doing your cooking or while having your food. You totally concentrate and totally give yourself to that practice, Samma Samadhi. Then what you do, the practice is you take in wholesome thoughts and not allow unwholesome thoughts to come in. As simple as that. For doing that, while you are doing that, the unwholesome thoughts will try to creep in. Then he has explained 6 techniques how to get rid of them. The clearest one there is, he says, clench your teeth, press your tongue against the upper part of the mouth, and try and crush mind with mind. So that's one of the techniques that he has explained. Similarly, the other 5 techniques, you will find that they are very similar, but there are subtle differences. Here you can see a clear difference because it's a completely different type of technique.
So, Bhanteji, here, can you please explain a little bit what is crushing mind to mind?
You see, that's very complicated. Don't worry about thinking about
Okay.
it. You see, crushing your mind with mind means, you see, a thought is trying to creep into your mind, right? So instead of allowing that thought to come in, you have a stronger thought. You know, crush your mind. You crush that thought coming
Okay.
into your mind, and you will have a strong. You will develop a stronger thought. For example, let's say, you know, let me think of an example. Um let's say, let me think. Let's say, you know, you had a very good friend who passed away, right? And just before he passed away, he or she passed away, that person did a terrible thing to you that hurt you very much. And this thought keeps coming into you, and it makes you unhappy, sad, angry with him, and so on. But there are a lot of other good things that he has done to you, right? And so what you do is, every time when that bad thought comes to your mind, when it's trying to creep in, you crush that thought with a good thought, something really good that he has done to you. Think about it. You think about the good things, the positive things that he has done, and not allow that negative thought, unwholesome thought to come into your mind. So that is what you mean by crushing mind with mind.
Thank you so much, Bhante. Thank you so much. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
See, these six techniques are very similar to each other. There are subtle differences. At the end of the day, all you are doing is developing wholesome thoughts and eradicating unwholesome thoughts, not allowing unwholesome thought to come in. For example, if you can practice loving kindness meditation, let's say 18 hours a day while you are up until you go to sleep, from the moment you wake up until you go to bed, you sit down somewhere and practice loving kindness meditation for 18 hours a day. Then even while having your food, while having your bath, whatever, still you keep practicing loving kindness meditation. And if you can not allow a single unwholesome thought to come into your mind, then you will completely eradicate anusaya, the raga, dvesha, moha thoughts that's developing. In other words, raga, dvesha, moha, thoughts that are coming into your mind and developing new unwholesome qualities. And at the same time, because you are not recharging the battery, in other words, you are not recharging the unwholesome qualities, raga, dvesha, moha quality that you have in your Vitakkasanthana in the third box, those three qualities will gradually die down, because unless they are practiced, they are not going to be, active and live. They will gradually die down and they will be eradicated. So if you can practice one of those techniques, the either Metta-anusati, Maruna-anusati, Asubha-anusati, or Buddha-anusati, all the time, then that's all you have to do, nothing else. You will end up becoming Arahat. But it's easily said than done. So when you come to that serious stage, either you have to be alone at home and practice it 18 hours a day or 20 hours a day or whatever, or you have to go to a monastery or forest or somewhere. You have to be alone and practice it, you see. Sama Samadhi, you cannot practice while chatting with friends or listening to other people or so on. Sama Samadhi is a serious meditation technique one should practice alone, perhaps with the guidance of a teacher. That would probably be an advantage if there's a teacher. Otherwise, Sama Samadhi is practiced alone. In most stories you will see in the Tipitaka, you see that people are coming to Sama Sambuddha and listening to his Dhamma, becoming Sotapanna, they become a monk, ordain themselves, and then they take a karmasthana from Lord Buddha, a meditation technique, and go to the forest to meditate. If you read the stories of Sariputta, Moggallana, and then who else, Kashyapa, people like that, or monks like that, that's how they all did it. You see, they listened to Dhamma, became Sotapanna. After that, they got a karmasthana from Lord Buddha and went to the forest by themselves, or 3, 4, sometimes groups of people went together, and they sat in different places and meditated until they got rid of Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. So some practices, Sama Samadhi needs total concentration. You cannot do anything else. But you don't need that at Sotapanna stage. If you want to go beyond Sotapanna, only you have to do that. Any other questions, anyone?
Namo Buddhaya Bhante, Sadhika.
Namo Buddha Hartika.
I have a question about with regards to types of thoughts. So
Yes.
we say wholesome and unwholesome thoughts.
Yes.
So unwholesome can be anything that causes affliction to oneself, another, or both.
Yes.
But could it be, like, say, for instance, a thought that obstructs your path to Nibbana? You could have a thought about your past, something about your past, and you just keep thinking, as an example, and you just keep thinking. It's not causing affliction to anyone, but it's obstructing your path to Nibbana. Is that classed as unwholesome?
Well, it depends on what the thought is. You see, if you keep thinking about something good that you have done to a person, right? Let's say you looked after your, let's say your father was not well before he passed away for 5 years. You left your job and looked after him, made a great sacrifice, right? And if you keep thinking about it, and that's a wholesome thought, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You see? So that will help your path. Whereas if you keep thinking about something your next door neighbor did to you to upset you, or if you feel angry with your father about something, something that he said to you to upset you or something, if that keeps coming to your mind, and if you keep thinking about it, that's an unwholesome thought. Right? Your distinction is correct. Wholesome and unwholesome. Anything wholesome is anything that helps your path to Nibbana or others' path to Nibbana. That is wholesome, right? Anything that obstructs your path to Nibbana or others' path to Nibbana is unwholesome.
So I would say any thought that distracts you from practicing Dhamma is taking you away, isn't it? As
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So that's unwholesome, I suppose, as well. Even though it's not causing affliction, I suppose it's causing affliction to you because it's hindering your process to going to, So a thought, like, I don't know, something nice, say you've been out with friends for a long time and you had a very good time and you just keep thinking about the good times you had, that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, that's certainly an unwholesome thought, because that's not going to help your path to Nibbana. That's only making you to, think about it more and more, and your mind will keep telling you, go out with friends again. You see?
Yes, that's right. Okay, thank you. This is very good, because previously I didn't realize, that unwholesome could means any thought that obstructs your path to Nibbana, because you could have like the one I just explained now, if you're having happy thoughts about your past,
Yes.
You're still obstructing, you're hindering your progress.
Yes.
So that's unwholesome, right? So yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
not
very
only
much.
your path, the other's path also. Sometimes you may be practicing your path without realizing that you are obstructing the path of another person. And that is also could be unwholesome. For example, you go to the forest to meditate with another friend, serious meditation. And you are reciting the Metta Sutra so loud that the other person cannot concentrate on his meditation, right? So the reciting of Metta Sutra, if you know the meanings of it, then it's helpful for your path. But at the same time, you are obstructing the path of the other person, right? So there you are again, doing an unwholesome action. So you have to always think before you do something, whether it's going to help your path and someone else's path, whether it's going to obstruct your path or someone else's path as well. Not only your path, you must think of others' path as well. That's why when we meditate, we always say, may all living beings and myself attain, Nibbana and so on.
I often forget to say myself. I say may all beings, and then I say the whole thing. Then I go back and may all beings and myself and myself.
In fact, you must put the other beings first before myself. That's why we always say may all living beings and myself, instead of saying may myself and all other living beings.
Yeah. No, I keep forgetting myself. I keep saying, may all beings be, happy, healthy, suffering, free from, and I get to the end and I say, I forgot myself. So then I say again, I say, may all beings and myself.
See, that's why I say the person who made English grammar was an Arahat person, because he put the others first and you last, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bhante.
Kandave Bhanteji, Naksen.
Buddha Naksen.
Bhanteji, dreams may be the outcome of thoughts. Maybe our subconscious mind would like to give us some messages or directions. In that context, there might be a chance when in a dream, thoughts because of the dreams, or dream because of the thought, I'm developing a raga, dvesha, moha towards it. The question is like, how should I look at it with Maitri, Karuna, and Upekka?
You see, dreams is a result of our past karma, dukkha, right? Now, if we are getting dreams that causes raga, dvesha, moha, and that's a result of our past karma. It's a dukkha that's coming to us. So we have to meditate and eradicate those dukkha. Dukkha is coming to us because of something bad that we have done, either to the Noble Triple Gem Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, or to the living beings living on the 31 planes. So that's why we have to meditate on asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wishing them well. That's the only way to get rid of dukkha. If you are having, everyone does, these dreams that's leading to raga, dvesha, moha. Most of the dreams of the pratyajana person lead into raga, dvesha, moha. That is because of dukkha. You see, the bad karma that we have done in the past. The only way to eradicate that is the meditation technique that Lord Buddha explained to Angulimala. That is asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wishing them Nibbana.
Okay, Bhante, thank you.
Hello, Bhante. This is Kalpana.
Namaste, Kalpana.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. I want to share experience, and as well as I have a question.
Yes.
First, I want to tell that as much I am meditating, the metta meditation, I feel more calmer. And what is new thing happening at this moment? Like I do get agitated with external things, but
that is quite normal.
yeah. But what happened now, when I agitate, it is instantly my mind will say that I am agitating and it's going to change. And it comes for a fraction of a second and it goes away. It
No, that's
takes like
very good.
5.
You see, now that means you are, you are doing your practice correctly. Even though this agitation comes to your mind is identifying it, right?
Yeah, is this a
Identifying it is
process
the,
of eradicating things
yes,
when
to
this happening?
eradicate, first you have to identify it. So
Okay.
what you are doing is right. You see, if you're identifying it, that means your mind has developed, you see,
Yeah. And
to a
second
certain
thing, what
extent that you
happened?
can identify
Okay.
unwholesome thoughts coming into your mind.
Okay.
Without identifying, you can't eradicate. So that's a good sign.
Okay. And second thing, what happened? Like some external like in
Now
you
let me
go
go
for
back to
work.
the first point again. There's one more thing. You
Yeah,
have to
sure.
understand why agitation come to your mind, because of your past karma, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So now one good thing is you are able to identify it and eradicate it. If you want to stop this agitation coming to your mind, what you have to do is ask for forgiveness, transfer merits, and wish them well, right? So every
Mm-hmm.
time when agitation comes to your mind, firstly, you can eradicate it. Then also, if you can do, asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wishing them well, at least once, it will do you a lot of good. So
Okay.
gradually those agitations, the rate that it will come will gradually deteriorate and eventually it will disappear completely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the second thing, like when we go to work and certain thing happen with you, you get agitated
Yes.
and you are annoyed with that person.
Yes.
But what is happening at the end of the day or the morning time? I come up with the have a good thoughts about that person, even though he tried to annoy me, or whether that person is happy with me or not happy with me. But I don't hold anything for that. I came to the neutral stage, okay, wishing for good or stay in the neutral state of mind and good thoughts for that person. So that's two things I am observing in myself, and I'm feeling more calmer and more stable because of that. And I talk to myself and I feel good about it. The
That's
second.
very, very good. You see, that's part of realization. That means you're on the correct path. Another thing that you can do is, if a person is trying to agitate you, if you think that for some reason a person is trying to upset you at work, you keep saying nice things to him or her,
Yeah, exactly. I look at into
and
the
give him
more
something,
details.
take some
Yeah.
food and give him, right? Because
Yeah,
if
that's what I.
so you have done something wrong to him in the past, and that's
Mhm.
dukkha that's coming to you, and he's taking his own back. It's coming, that's the way the universe works, you see. So you got to do something nice to that person, right?
Mhm,
Always
mhm.
keep saying nice things about him, make good comments about his clothes, about his work, and about the things that he says, say, make him feel better and give him
Mhm.
something, some food or something, make some special food at home and take it and share it with the friends, give him as well. That way, the anger that he has against you, suddenly, sometimes when you go to work, a new person comes in you have never seen before, suddenly he becomes your worst enemy. You see, without any reason, he starts giving you a hard time. So that's
Mhm.
because of dukkha. You have done something bad to him in the past. So every time when you see him, you meditate in your mind, ask him for forgiveness, transfer merits, and wish him well. You will see it will work like magic.
Mhm. Okay, and the other things, Bhante, I have to ask about, you talk about the hell, the scene, or the world transferring. Is this is this a thoughts, or it is a real world there? Like the hell is the world there, like how you see in the movie, the hell is like this. The is that like that? It's always make me feel whenever you say hell that people are torturing each other. That's the hell. Is that a state of mind, or it is the real world there?
Well, according to Lord Buddha's teachings, yes, there's a real hell. You see, we can see the real human world. We can see the real animal world. And similarly, if we practice Sama Samadhi, we'll be able to see the real Divyaloka and real Brahmaloka. And similarly, if we, practice wrong meditation techniques and increased our Raga Desha Moha to a certain level, we'll be able to see the Bhuta and the Preta or even the hell itself. So they are real places, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Bhanteji. Thank you so much.
Bhanteji, Namo Buddhaya. This is Kalyani.
Hello, Kalyani.
So Lord Buddha said these places exist, right? These are real places.
Yes.
Did he qualify if those are on the earth or outside of earth, or is there any more information about those?
Well, my understanding is they are in the same world. They are different planes. Now, the animal kingdom we can see in our world, right?
Right.
Similarly, the ghost and the inferior ghost, they also live here. We can't see them, but there are certain people, there are certain ascetics, certain monks who could see them. I knew a monk, he was practicing wrong meditation techniques, and he could see this Buddha and Preta, They are living on this earth where we live. Then the hell itself is below us. Some people say it's 1.5 miles underground. Some say 5 miles underground. I don't know the distance, but I believe it's there. And the superior worlds, the superior realms, if you like, Divyaloka and Brahmaloka, they are above us in the sky. We can't see, but they are there.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Bhante.
So Bhanteji.
Yes. Hello.
On this particular, Vinaya here.
Yes, Vinaya.
On this particular part of 31 realms associated with earth, I think puredhamma.net has a lot of explanation.
Yes.
And something similar to what you just said about hell being underground and the higher realms being above, but it also mentions that it is like a concentric kind of planes, where center of the earth and all planes are concentric. So people who are interested, maybe they want to take a read at puredhamma.net.
Oh, it's very good that you have been reading it. If the others also can read, 1 or 2 pages every day, you'll find it very, very useful.
Yeah.
Because he's a physics professor, he can give a more scientific explanation on most things.
But Bhanteji, it is not hard to find heaven and hell while we are living here.
Yeah, we can make, life is what we make it, isn't it? We can make heaven or hell here. So, it's all here. But the actual heaven and hell will be much worse. We cannot make that hell here. It will be much worse.
Sure.
But we can get close to it here if we want to. If anyone wants to see Bhuta or Preta, I can tell you a very quick way. Anyone interested?
You told us once, Bhanteji. I remember.
You see, in one sutra, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's in Samyutta Nikaya, a short sutra. Venerable Moggallana comes to Lord Buddha and says, I saw a preta today, and he is several miles long. I can't tell this to anyone because people will think that I have gone mad. The preta was so long, several miles long, one living being, you know. Then Lord Buddha said, no, no, you haven't gone mad. I have seen him as well. And I wouldn't tell anyone because they won't believe it.
Okay. Wow.
See, some things that exist in this universe are unbelievable. See, we know so little of it. We don't even know Lord Buddha picked up 4 leaves in the forest, and he said what he comprehended was equivalent to all the leaves in the forest. And what he's going to teach us is equivalent to the 4 leaves. We are struggling to learn the 4 leaves. How can we, try and learn and comprehend the entire forest? It's impossible. It's far beyond the capabilities of our intelligence and wisdom. Right, I think time is up. Can we transfer merits and call it today? Any other questions anyone has? Okay, it seems no more questions. Right. Now today, by discussing Dhamma and listening to Dhamma, we have completed 10 meritorious deeds. By completing these 10 meritorious deeds, we have accumulated a lot of merits according to Lord Buddha's teachings. All the merits that we have accumulated today, as well as throughout our samsara, all of us have accumulated and brought into this life when we came into this life a huge mountain of merits with us. All those merits, when we transfer them, they will double and triple because it's a universal law that more you give, more you get. So more you transfer merits, more merits you will get. So let's transfer these merits firstly to our dead relatives who have passed away. So I always take the opportunity to think of Bodhisattva Bharat Ratana, Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, because of whom we are here, and his relatives who have passed away, and those who have helped to build this vihara and looked after it for the past 26 years and contributed in one way or the other, and who have passed away and their relations. And the relations of all of you and relations of me, all the relations, may they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite this Gatha. If you know the Gatha, you can recite it with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of it. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu nātayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to transfer all these merits to all the living beings living on the 31 planes. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite this Gatha. If you know the Gatha, you can recite it with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of it. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamu. Sorry. Ettavatache ammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatache ammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatache ammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, with the power of all the merits that all of us have accumulated, May they help us to eradicate our anusaya, the raga, dvesha, moha thoughts that are coming to our mind in the present moment, as well as all the raga, dvesha, moha qualities that we have accumulated in our chitta santhana. And thereby, through that process, may we be able to maximize our wisdom, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite this Gatha. If you know the Gatha, you can recite it with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of it. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idamme punya kamman asavakkaya vahan hotu sabba dukkha pamujjatu sadhu sadhu sadhu. Finally, in order to ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I'm going to recite this Gatha. If you know the Gatha, you can recite it with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of it. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame bhante buri panya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame dhamma sanditthika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara sadhu sadhu sadhu. I'm going to give you the blessings of the Mahasangha. Abhivadana silisa nichang vadda pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukambalang ayurarogya sampatti sangha sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samichatu bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. May all of you be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. By the way, I like to thank all the people who made a great effort to organize this Dhamma sermons, especially, firstly, Vinay and Milind, then the others, Nagsen, Pankaj, Pankaj Shomkwa, Pankaj Mishram, and Pankaj made the effort to come here all the way to UK, and I appreciate that very much. And I would encourage that would encourage the others also to come here, and it will be good once this tidal of COVID is over by April. It would be really good if the others also can come to UK at least for 2-3 days and see the Tipitaka, see the Satipatthana Sutra, and so on. It will be an encouragement for you to practice your path. So thank you all very, very much, and have a very good holiday, have a very good break. And if any of you have any questions, please feel free to send me a text message and I'll give you time. We'll arrange a mutually convenient time to discuss it. I'm here to help. So once again, thank you all very, very much. May the Noble Triple Gem Buddha Dhamma and Sangha bless you all. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
Bhante ji.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Pandit ji.